this past week, Randy has been out here a couple of minutes before I get home, and when he saw the lights of my car turning on Asbury, he took off and went inside real quick. And so he did it again tonight. This makes the second time this week. A couple of weeks ago, he contacted me on YouTube with a fake profile, and my YouTube channel is not even in my personal name. So here he is. He comes out on the porch. He's in the dark. He turns off the lights. And here comes his dog. So I know he's on the porch because his dog is out there. And a couple of dogs come out. But there's a light that just came on. That's where he lights a cigarette. So, normally he has on the hallway light, and, you can see if he comes out and everything. Well, what he's doing now, he's sneaking around on the front porch and lurking around in the dark, and he turns off the inside light so nobody can see him. But when I come up the hill, I'm turning on my live video, because I've got to where I live video him all the time. So because I've put him out there and blasted him and made him famous, he's starting to mix it up and do it a little different, when nobody does anything to him, he just gets more creative with how he does it. But today I had two men in my yard that were working in my yard, and whenever I have a man or two men in my yard to work, it triggers him and gets his panties in a wad, because he has some weird obsession with me and wants to know what I'm doing, who I'm talking to. He's watching the whole time, trying to listen. And so I come up the hill, I saw the dog. I'm sitting down at the bottom of the hill, getting my camera turned on, and I come up the hill, and I saw the dog, and so I realized he's out there, and I'm making sure my camera's going. Sometimes when I turn it on, it doesn't get running like it should. I have to back out of it and go back in it. So I see him. He calls the dogs in. They go in the door, and he's standing in the door, and I'm like, I am not dealing with you. You're drunk out here bothering me. So I go, I'm not. So then he flips on. A minute or so later, he flips on the interior light. Randy is very disturbed. The fact that his wife kind of like, this is kind of cute, it's funny that you're bugging her, because they do it too. His wife and sister-in-law that live there. And the sister-in-law was in the mental health ward at RMC. Randy and Brenda put her there a couple of years ago. So she's got some mental problems, and Brenda appears to have mental problems, because if she thinks it's cute, she's definitely mentally ill, that her husband's out here. And see, the thing is, he's got her fooled into thinking that it's funny, it's practical joke or whatever. But I've actually caught him looking in this woman's windows. He walked out to this tree and was standing there looking in her windows right at dark. Her husband had just left. Her window curtains were open. And I've actually caught him in the woods across the street twice with two different tenants that live two houses down, both of them women. So one of them moved in, and he was down there in the woods looking in her windows. She didn't have a curtain on her windows. And I went to the thrift store and got them to donate a great big old bedspread and brought it back to her and gave her nails and hammer and told her to put that up on her windows just so he can't look in her windows. And so another person has moved in, another woman, and I caught him down in the woods looking in her windows there too. So, I mean, these men around here are so screwed up in their heads. They're all got brain damage. But he pretends to be such a nice guy, and here he is standing and staring and looking in people's windows. So now he's turned on his interior hall light, which he should do before he comes out the door, but he's not doing. So I have to back up and back in several times, because I'm making live video and talking and just not doing a good job of backing into my driveway. But it's not intentional to bug them, but that's everything I do gets a reaction from him like I've done something to him. So when I have men in my yard to work, that, I might as well have just, I mean, it's almost like he thinks I'm his girlfriend and he's jealous. I mean, it's very weird because he's very obsessed with whatever I do. He's got to be out in the yard listening and watching. He had his grandson over here, and his grandson did not even drive a car, so I didn't even know he was over there. And when I go and pick up the man to work in my yard, and the other one's on the way in a motorcycle, Nathan, his grandson, who apparently has helped him to hack into my Google, helped him to make a YouTube channel where he contacted me on YouTube a couple of weeks ago. So Nathan appears, see, I confronted Nathan at a restaurant he worked at one night about 3 or 4 months ago and just was talking to him about the situation. He just, he made excuses for all of it and pretended to be so nice, just like his grandfather does. His grandfather pretends to be so nice, but he's not. He sabotaged my cars. He's done so much. Like, one time Gilman came over here, had them boys from down the street that I had had to get a no contact order against because Gilman put them up to follow me around, cussing me and everything. He got them to come over and cut the grass, and I had just got out here and cleaned up by that wall, and he got him to discharge the grass all over my mulch and everything. So I got a blower and blowed it out here in the street. Well, Randy blowed it back. He took a blower and blew it back to my yard. I mean, he's screwed up in his head. He's just so screwed up in his head. He's a very mentally ill man, and he needs help. He pretends to be such a nice guy, but he's not. He's a low-down scumbag. So I'm going in, this is what I have to do. Pull in here and keep my eye on everything over there while I'm getting my stuff out of my car, because I know that he's over there being stupid, watching me. And no telling if he might come out the door and do something dumb. So watch. Right about now, the dog's going to come out the door. There it goes. And then he's going to light a cigarette. He's standing right there. So he starts getting back in the darkness and hiding. Lights a cigarette. He apparently sees my lights coming and kind of steps back to the door. He's hiding, which is the definition of stalking. The definition of stalking is repeated behavior over time, making unwanted contact with the victim for no apparent reason other than to annoy, intimidate, alarm, and cause fear and emotional distress. And that is exactly what he has done. It's emotionally upsetting to come home and have a drunk man hiding on the porch across the street to lurk around. So now he takes off and goes. There he is. Now he goes in the door. And he stands there in the door and calls the dogs in. So now what he's doing is he's coming out 30 seconds to 4 minutes before I get home and stepping in the door quickly so that he's not out there. He's mentally ill. Or see, you saw that light? So he he either flashed a light at someone, like the Mayhans, because they seem to be involved in it too, or he stepped back out with a cigarette or something. Can't really tell. But I go around the block and pull up to see if he's out there, and he's like lurking around the door, and he shuts the front door. And flips on the hall light. It's just his way of making unwanted contact with me, just communicating with me, just like he did contacting me on YouTube, electronically stalking me. There's no way he could have found my YouTube page if he was not electronically stalking me. And he probably has everything to do with this man that followed me in Walmart, sprayed skunk spray at me, and cussed me out, got a hold of me on Messenger. Somebody has to be telling these people who I am. Otherwise, this other man stalking me could not have found me on Messenger. So he's really not a man at all. He's just a little boy that acts like a 2-year-old, and his mind is messed up. He's drunk all the time, so he's mentally ill from alcohol and just thinking the wrong things. He's nasty in his mind, or he wouldn't be trying to mess with a single woman across the street. May God run you out of your house, Randy. If that's what your motive is, just like Gilman's was, to run me out of my house, may God run you out of your house.